where these values are taken, that is probability.
Mm, sir, I was reading the quick select, so no, sir, maybe
No, no,
not.
no. You are confusing me. Are you talking of a quick sort where we are selecting median of median, or quick select?
Quick select, sir.
Quick select. So
Yes,
quick
sir.
select, you try to develop a algorithm by using quick sort, right?
Mm, yes, sir.
Suppose I want to develop a algorithm to find out the how to design a new algorithm for quick select. So in quick select, if you are selecting, you want to select which element, third element, fourth element, fifth element, which element, kth element in general.
Yes, sir.
Uh, Whether they have written a, which book you are following.
Sir, this Sahani book only you referred.
Okay, that is quick select. So
Yes, sir.
when you are selecting quick select, and it is a adoption from the median of median algorithm. So when it try to place the pivot element, when it divided the array, so is it coming with that probability? But point 0.7, what you say? What exactly they try to do when you are looking into the array, when you are left with the 75% of the array, probability of a item comparison to the original array and comparison to the item will be present in the subarray is taken into consideration. That means if you start with 10 elements, selecting a element with a probability is 1 by n. And when you try to explain the array with how many element? 10 element or how many element? How many elements are
Sir,
there? Example.
sir, there are 35 elements. They are taking group of five, so seven groups are total formed.
So 7 groups are there that I already you have answered. When you had the 7 groups up there, the probability that it will be belongs to one of the group.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So when the probability of the belongs to one of the group, and this is the way it is selected. Okay, what I'll do. So far I have not discussed that mathematical derivation. Earlier I don't have any plan to discuss the quicksort. Actually my that camera or the online setup I could not make it ready. I mean, I'm getting a reverse picture. I could not correct it. So I'll do the derivation at least for the quicksort. It will be clear how we build the recurrence relation and how we take care of that probability of selecting a limit. Okay. Maybe you can wait for 1 or 2 class. I'll derive that one. Okay. Okay. I just to tell me which portion, which chapter or which section you are referring.
Sir, divide and conquer, quick sort analysis. There's
Quicksort
something is
analysis. Yes.
yes,
Yes.
sir.
Fine. 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 Okay. ठीक. That I had a plan to discuss. I could not do it. Okay.
Yes, sir.
ठीक है, ठीक है,
And
ठीक
sir, the addition 1.2 constant, where did that get from? I was confused.
है. Yeah. So you see, these books uses certain findings which is copied from the book. That is the algorithm designed by, I mean, the Bible book. What is that book? Where every answer is there. You'll be finding, you'll be wondering when I'll be teaching the hashing, you'll be finding such type of constant figure also. Okay. So all book refers to a single book. I told that. What is that book? Who is the author at least? You tell me.
Sahani, sir.
No, I told that every algorithm book is adapted from that.
So
The
Corman.
traders.
No, not neither Cronman nor traders.
So Knuth.
Sir, Gary and Johnson.
So notebook.
No, no, notebook. Okay. So many derivations you will be find in the textbook. They refer to the notebook. Okay. So sometimes they say when we try to study a perfect hashing, you'll be finding some constants are coming. So those derivations are actually coming from a conclusion of a theorem. So what these author try to do, they cite the theorem and we are only looking into the conclusion. Okay. And some book they clear, even Sani book you'll be finding while studying the hashing, it will be written there. For detailed proofs, authors are requested to refer to the original book. Okay, we'll clarify that one. So we'll continue with the randomized algorithm. Before start today discussion, you see in the lab class, we implement this thing. compute the pi value, how to compute the pi value using randomized algorithm, how to find out the solution to integration, because these are the numerical algorithm where solution is expressed in terms of a fixed value. Then comes a primality testing. The primality testing, we will discuss this algorithms today, that we want to test a number to be prime, and we are able to do it successfully for large number of time using randomized algorithm. But the algorithm is like this: if you'll ask a number to be prime, sometimes it is say true yes to the prime number, sometimes it also say no to the prime number, but probability of saying no to that prime number is very less. So now you look into this question, I mean, how these probability terms are coming. It says write a program that finds the majority of element. So majority of the element, the problem is like this. The particular value is repeated. So majority of the a element that you are finding, the particular value in a array is repeated. Number of times the repetition is more. Okay, it says look into this question. You are interested to solving a majority element problem for a previous problem was set as by using randomized algorithm, because you have discussed described the problem within the text. Recall that this problem you try to determine whether there are strictly more than n by 2 element is an array with the same value. That means half of the elements are with the same value, then definitely majority of element has a value n by 2. Subjected to constant that you can only learn whether two elements are equal or different. That is, the operation permitted for you is equal to operation and not equal to operation. So it says design a order of n time randomized algorithm. What this line says, when I write it's a order of n time randomized algorithm, I am saying, I repeat again, all the randomized algorithms are bounded by polynomial time, where if there is a majority element, your algorithm returns 1 with a probability. At least you look into this error 1 minus 10 to the power 9, and this is proved with number of experiment or number of simulation runs, 10 times, 20 times, 30 times, 40 times, 100 times. It's like that, and we find out a average value. Now look into this. The program to find a majority element from a linear array using randomized algorithm shows that probability of missing majority element is very less, 0.00097. So if it is a very less value, we can say my randomized algorithm which completes in the linear time also produces a good solution. That means the majority of the case it is good. Okay, so before discussing that, we have some stops to be discussed in the first part of the, I mean, first part of the randomized algorithm. I want to take that one first, because that is to be discussed of the different random generated properties. Uh, okay, so the most important is in the simulation, when we try to do the simulation, we divide. I think the slide is visible to you. Yes, please.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
yes, sir.
Thank you, thank you. So you broadly we divided the random number into two categories, that is pseudo random number and true random number. So generating the true random number is very difficult because it required a natural source, and all the random routines that is associated with a digital computer, or the part of, sometimes it is taken care of some routine available with operating system, or sometimes as a routine available with a compiler, they are actually pseudo random numbers. What is exactly pseudo random number? Because if you produced a number, let us say 31, and you are continuously trying to generate a 2-digit number, 31 will be repeated, but the repetition period is too large. Okay, but 31 will be repeated. So what do I mean to say? Suppose you have logged or log a particular object, or a, suppose in a security system you use a key where 31 is the prime number, and somebody try to crack that lock. So he will again try to generate the keys, and it may take a very large time, but he will definitely crack your lock, because this is a pseudo random number. It may be repeated after 100 trials, 200 trials, or 300 trials. Time taken may be large, but that 31 will be repeated. So this type of random numbers are called pseudo random numbers. When we talk about true random numbers, it will not be repeated. So it's a challenge for the designers to design an algorithm which will produce the true random number. As last class I have decided, it is very difficult to generate the true random number using deterministic or digital computer. So what we try to do to design a true random generator, we take the help of some natural phenomena or some natural source. Might be like one may be taken the sound produced in a corridor when people are working. One may be taking the radiation. You will be finding there is a concept of the Java lamp. Java lamp. A lamp has got a radiation, and the radiation is captured because the radiation phenomena is not uniform, not following any distribution. So we can generate a true random number from that. So one has to remember actually what are the sources of a true random number. Okay, so a computer follows the instructions blindly and therefore completely predictable. A computer that does not follow the instruction in this manner is broken. There are two main approach for generating random numbers in computer. One is pseudo random number, which is generated with help of the digital computer, and true random number, which is possible if we'll capture some of the natural phenomena, either will directly produce a number or using certain inputs, we take the help of a algorithm which generate a true random number. Very interesting. Suppose there are 100 students. I ask you to assign the random numbers to them. You can do it easily. Are you finding any repetition? Maybe you can find any repetition. But suppose there are 5,000 students. For them, you generate random number. What you'll be finding, everybody got a unique number if you look at them. But if you'll simply sort it, you'll be finding those 5,000 numbers may be serial starting from 1 to 5,000. Okay, that means we apply certain distributor to rearrange those general sequence, and that becomes a random number. So this is the one way you can say this is pseudo random number. Their occurrence only manipulated, but there will be a repetition of that. Always you can try with a simple MATLAB random generator and try to run it. Maybe you can find that one or two numbers are getting repeated in the array. Now, the next, the random number, when we talk about pseudo random generator, the pseudo random generator, the most popular one is the linear congruent module, something we write X mode 10 type of function. And if you will remember the hashing, we also use the linear congruent modulo generator. We'll be studying while studying the hashing. Okay, so this is possible through a mathematical formula. When it is possible through a mathematical formula, it has a periodicity. It may not be repeated in 1,000 times, but it may be repeated after that. So there is a great chance of repetition of the number. So quality of the pseudo random generator which is preferred, which is not going to repeat the generation of the number in near future. So this is the simple definition of the pseudo random number. And most of in digital computer, whenever we did some simulation, we take the help of the pseudo random number. Okay, so if you refer to a simulation book, let me name the book. You may have come across a subject that is simulation and modeling. Any of you have studied the subject simulation and modeling? Anybody has studied during the undergraduate course? Yes. Simulation and modeling by Law and Carlton. Okay, that book you'll be finding the major part of the discussion, that how a pseudo random number or how random numbers are used to design an algorithm. And so they explicitly discuss about the pseudo random number. Okay, now when we look into the difference between the pseudo random number and true random number, so it is easy to understand that your computer generated random numbers by rolling the dice. If you do that, you may be getting a true random number. Whereas pseudo random number generated random numbers using a mathematical formula with help of the digital computer. That means you can say, when I try to write a program to simulate my coin, though naturally I am getting a true randomness, but when I try to do it in a digital computer, gives me a pseudo random number. So the two random numbers work by getting the computer actually rolling a die or more common things with some phenomena, some physical activity. It is easier to connect the computer than a die. That means if you try to record, as I say, the sounds of the sound appearing in the corridor or the shoe noise appearing in the corridor, if you take that input to the computer, then maybe you can generate a true random number. So these are the properties related to the pseudo random number. I don't want to take much time on that. Only remember this is possible through writing a algorithm, and the most important fact is this: the pseudo random numbers are typically also periodic. After certain time, the numbers will be repeated. So when the numbers will be repeated, it can be predicted, and but the periodicity is only the concern. If somebody uses a very fast computer or a supercomputer, it can reduce the time. So if you designed a security system using a prime number as a key with the source of the pseudo prime random number, then it is every possibility that a hacker will try and able to regenerate that key and they can crack the system. Okay, this is the example why random numbers or random prime numbers are so important in the cryptography. So popular example of such application is the simulation modeling. That's why just I try to ask you that if anybody has come across a paper, simulation and modeling. For me, this is a must paper for computer science, but I don't know in the present curricula they are dropping these things. But those who are doing the research, anyhow, directly or indirectly, you have to read it. I don't think there will be excuse if you will not read this book. This is a good book by Law and Calton from the McGraw Hill, or sometimes the books are available with Tata McGraw Hill. Uh, you will be finding many answers. Very simple thing. You are writing a program and you try to experiment with something, but let us say wireless sensor network. The first question comes, you develop a model, you have developed a program. Have you validated your model? You have written a program to do it, but you also doing the same thing while working for the thesis. You developed a software, but the reviewer or the examiner put a question that have you validated your program? Okay, what exactly the validation? That means maybe for some problems when you try to test that multiplication of a algorithm, I have taken two example and then I try to multiply manually with the help of a calculator. The same thing I can test, but here exactly the testing word is something different, but validate is something different. Like that, every action, the output, the input or of to a program has to be tested. So when people face this type of question, when their thesis are getting evaluated, they got panic how to answer it. This happens with many of our research scholars. That's why we suggest, or I suggest particularly, you have to at least look into the book Simulation and Modeling. Okay, by Law and Calton, this is the only book or good book is available. Okay, so now the pseudo random numbers are not suitable for application, uh, not suitable for the application um, where it is important that numbers are really unpredictable, such as data encryption and gambling. So what it says, for a gambling or data encryption, you need to generate the true random number. So that is the challenge, how a true random number can be generated. So then there are many applications like password protection or maybe the simulation of infection, how it spreads. Maybe I can give you one example. There is a program called Game of Life. If anybody has followed on the coding book C++ by Robert Laffer, then you can find a particular good simulation program that is Game of Life, where the cells are and dying and again new cells are coming up and he tried to simulate these things on the top of the screen. So these are the few good example where you'll be finding the random numbers are used. And now comes the true random number. So that means we try to capture a physical phenomena, that is one input definitely coming to the computer from a natural phenomena. Maybe the noise on the street, maybe the sound in a corridor, maybe you can say the wind speed and others. Any natural phenomena which randomly occurs can be taken as the input. Okay, so this I try to put into details. Please go through that. What are the natural phenomena? Now, it says how to generate the true random number. So this it says typical sources that you can go take the help of the radioactive sources, and by taking the radioactive sources you can decide that a input which is random which is taken. Then it says the hotbit service, it's a service which generates a random input, natural phenomena. Another suitable physical phenomena is atmospheric noise. You need some random input so that this is act as a input, but there is a algorithm which generates the random number. Now it comes to the rand.org. This is the web resource is available where we have a different solution to the random number generator. Okay, now it says you can also use the background noise of an office. Some random phenomena has to be captured or a laboratory. So that can be used to generate the random number. A far from your computer might be contribute to the background noise, and since the fan is a rotating device and the chance of the noise it produces won't be random as atmospheric noise. You see, this is general observation because fan is continuously moving, so it's one type of predictable phenomena is going on. That means for every noise, sound noise above the fan is added. So it is not in that way I mean randomized or a dynamic one, that it should be referred as the source of true random number, rather than we refer to the atmospheric noise which is not a predictable one. So this is just how it can be generated. So in nutshell, we can say generating two random number or developing a algorithm is a credible affair, and somebody should thought that I want to generate a true random number. If you are generating a true random number, you have n number of application. Okay. Once you say I'm generating a true random number, you have n number of application, because this random generation is used predominantly in security services, encryption and other activity. So now the pseudo random number generator, there are certain characteristic: efficiency, determinism and periodicity. So if it is a periodicity, it can be cracked after a certain period, it will be repeated. Okay, so the efficiency is excellent in case of pseudo random number because average case analysis is good, but in case of true random number, the efficiency is not in that way good, poor. But how it is to be proved? It is has to be proved through the simulation by writing the program. Maybe you are taking an average case to prove that. So these characteristics make the true random number suitable for roughly a set of application, and the pseudo random numbers are unsuitable for data encryption, gaming and gambling. So this is a general recommendation. If somebody works on data compression or data encryption or any other activity, we need a true random generator in the backend. So what I can say, there is a demand of true random number or number to be produced. Okay, now these are the application of the best type of generator where we need a random generator like lottery, gaming a sample. Now comes to this random sampling, which is now quite popular. This thing I always repeat in a question. You have got a few vaccines and you have to vaccinate few people. Just come to the reverse. I think you heard of about the Sero survey, and a particular city people has to be put into that survey, and government says a city like maybe Raurkela, they are going to collect 2000 samples to check whether the antibody has developed in the body of the localites. So whom to be selected? But here whom to be selected? So here computer comes to rescue. You can, looking into the environment, you can generate a list or you can identify the people through random sampling who are to be tested. Okay, the reverse is that when it is a drug screening, you try to vaccinate the whole locality. You put everybody into vaccine, but you try to test the effectiveness of the vaccine. It is difficult to examine each and every individual, so you did some sampling. You try to select few people who will be the examiner. So these are the applications where we can use the random generator, or you can say true random generator so that the solutions are of good quality or solutions will be good, or like in case of random sampling, your prediction will be correct. Okay, so now this is the sources of the random number. This is we repeat again the random.org. It uses the algorithm that uses the atmospheric noise to produce the true random number. So similarly, there are other sources of the random, I mean true random number, which is talk about, that is one is called your Java lamp or larva and the generator. So there are certain things also built into the packages like Java entropy pool. Java has got a sandbox model and others which supports the generation, but really it is a challenging task. If I'll ask someone try to generate a 256-bit prime number, okay, and I want that every time the number to be random. So this is the challenge, because there is good amount of effort of the algorithm to be designed for a larger uh, prime number. The more large number of bits are there, more strength will be added to encryption technique or a security system. So security system typically depends on the strength of the random number rather than it is only depends on the algorithm. So the true random number is coming to the rescue. If you go for a large bit for true random numbers, then we can design a robust security system. The characteristic of a true random number are quite different from the pseudo random number. First, the true random number are generally rather inefficient compared to the uh, pseudo random number, taking considerably the long time to produce the number. They are also non-deterministic, meaning that the giving sequence of number cannot be reproduced, although the same sequence may occur several times by chance. So true random numbers are no periodic. That means you can otherwise say I can take a help of non-deterministic algorithm to produce true prime number or true random number. So this is the most important conclusion. You can write a non-deterministic algorithm that will generate true random number. Now we'll come to the example. We'll go move to the next slide where we try to find compute the value of pi. We have selected a circle which is unit circle. That means this particular radius of that circle will be 1, and we'll use a simple a formula pi r square or 2 pi r to do the reverse calculation to find out the pi value. Okay. I don't have much to discuss on this randomness. Now look into the question. First question finds the minimum by finding the minimum spanning tree in a graph with n vertices and m edges has a Las Vegas algorithm which has a expected running time order of n plus m. Can anybody respond? So we are looking into a graph. What should be first the representation of a graph? Yes, please. What should be the representation of the graph? What should be the representation of the graph? Look into the last line. What should be the representation? Tell me, is it adjacent?
Set of edges and vertices.
Sir,
Adjacency,
adjacency list.
adjacency list. Very good. When you are looking into this, a linear time n plus m, then it will be first in the adjacency list. Please remember, if you could go for the adjacency matrix, it will be order of n square
N
or
square.
something. Okay, so that is a good guess. So that means looking into this complexity, you are concluding that you are going to represent your problem using adjacency list. Clear? So this technique you can use for any graph algorithm, right? Representation matters. Now, the algorithm is a Las Vegas algorithm. What you are going to do? You represent them in a adjacency list. Then what you are going to do? How to write algorithm? How will be the outer loop? Please tell me. What will be the outer loop? There are n vertices. What will be the outer loop? you are going to construct a minimum spanning tree. So you are going to write down a loop.
From
What will be
0
the
to
outer
n
for
minus 1.
loop? Yes, huh?
From 0 to n minus 1.
Fine, either you can, that means n number of steps you want to say. Very good. This will be 1 to n or 0 to n minus 1. So outer loop is n. Then any other loops are there? Any other loops are there? Yes, please. Maximum how many loops will be there? You see, a single vertex may be connected to or is all other vertex, right? In a adjacency list, suppose you say vertex number 1, it may be connected to vertex 2, it may be connected to vertex 3, it may be connected to vertex 4. A single vertex may be connected to all the vertex. Agreed. So outer loop is 1 by n, inner loop is maybe from 1 to m. Okay, then what is the Las Vegas? What action you are going to write within the algorithm? Because it's a Las Vegas algorithm. What is the definition of Las Vegas algorithm?
If
Always
output is
correct
there,
result.
then it must be true.
It, that means it may produce a solution, or so that means after you are now collecting the edges. At the end you are checking the edges which you have selected are going to form a spanning tree or not, right? So how you will select? How you will select? You are at the vertex number 1. How many vertex you are? How many other vertex you are looking?
N
Because what
minus 1.
you see, but you see, being at vertex number 1, you are looking to the list where V1 can be connected in a single step. Yes or no? What the adjacency list says? V1, suppose V1 is connected to V5, V6. What it says? There is a edge from V1 to V5. There is a edge from V1 to V6. Clear? In adjacency list representation, what I try to include, I have got n number of vertex. Then I write corresponding to V1 who are the vertices that are directly reachable. Okay. So you are actually doing a selection among those vertex which are reachable from vertex number 1, or in general say you can say from vertex number I. Right? What is the maximum comparisons you can make? Because the limitation is also
Not
available. The limitation is also available. Got it or not? That means maximum how many vertex to it will be connected? To n minus 1 vertex.
n minus 1.
But these, if you look into all the vertex, that is V1 connected to V3, V5, answer is 2. V2 connected to V0, V3, V5, there are 3. If we'll add all these things, that will be equal to what? M number of edges. Got it? Actually, when I am sketching the adjacency list, I am sketching actually this many number of edges. Some are connected appear at V1, some are appear at V2, some are appear at V3, some are appear at along with Bn. Okay. First you understood the problem or not? It's a very easy. You write a typically outer n loop algorithm, you will get that one. Now to examine. So when you are at V1, you are allowed to select, let us say V2 or V5, because both of them are connected. Okay, now if you are going to select randomly, you can select any of the vertex. You can select any of the vertex. So you can proceed again for selection of the other vertex. Okay, so outer loop is n, inner loop is maximum your m. So you can write a few lines, so that will give you the algorithm. Okay, now we'll be looking into other problems. As if you want to discuss, we can discuss the other problems also. Let us move to the second part, that is Yes, I'm changing the slide, please. Okay, sorry, I got disconnected. There was some issue. Uh, okay, we'll continue with the randomized algorithm because we are discussing in particularly the first category of algorithm, that is your numerical probabilistic algorithm. Uh, Before start of this discussion, we sometimes talk about the optimization problem for which we try to design a solution. But here we try to touch all the four type of algorithm. And when we look into a numerical probabilistic algorithm, it actually look into a numerical result. The one of the example is that we are looking into the approximate result of the pi value. Okay, so last class we have discussed how we try to take the help of a unit circle to find out the I mean the pi value. So the randomness which is introduced here, the uniform stands for a random uniform distribution, or simply you can say uniform distribution which returns a value between 0 and 1. Very typical example, if you use a rand function in MATLAB or Scilab, it returns a value in between 0 to 1. So here, as I have explained in the last class, the mechanism what facilitates. So this is a circle, unit circle. So I'll treat this as a bullseye, and I have given 1000 dots. I'll throw the dot one by one to the circle. If it hits at the center or in the periphery, I'll treat it as a success, otherwise the failure. So when I am throwing n number of dots, I assume that k number of dots hit into the inside of the circle, including the circumference. So I'll be using that concept to calculate the area. So what I meant to say, when I'm throwing a dot, I am going to throw a sufficient dot so that the area within the circle will be filled. Okay, so that concept is being used because here you see we try to go for 4k divided by n. So we use a simple formula here. We calculate the distance from the origin, that is x square plus y square, and because I am looking into the unit circle, so this will be less than equal to 1. So here I am performing the number of trials. I try to find out the points who are lying on the periphery, that is equal to 1, or line within the circle. So this is a validation function, and we conduct for the k times, and we stop it. After that we find out the value of the pi. And as I told in the last class, if you run this program again and again, you'll be finding how the pi value is converging. That means for few trials it will show you the first significant digit is matching. Then after when the number of trial will increase, you'll be finding second significant digit is matching maximum number of cases. So again time increases, the third significant digit is matching. So depend on that, depend on the time you can afford, you can find out a accurate pi value. So this is the explanation how we use the pi value. So we can also go for like this using a rand function with the system. We find out the mode value, and then we can take the help of the distance formula, simple formula, to try that whenever we are throwing a die. So in turn, what I can say in general, this is a natural phenomena. When I am throwing a die, or I'm rolling a die, or throwing a arrow, we try to design a model so that we are simulating that using computer. Okay, so this is the explanation of the algorithm. I don't want to look into that directly. We will be looking into the computation of the pi value. So the question on simulation experiment, how accurate is your pi value? You can increase the number of trials to go that. Do you get the same value when you run your program again? Answer is no, because it is not going to produce those same pair of xy when we'll run it again and again. Is your pi more accurate if you make larger in n is larger in step 1? Answer is yes. With more number of experiment, it will increase. In step 1, when what happens if you see the integer calculations? Okay, so what it try to do in the step number 1 when you are looking into integer calculations? So that means you want to restrict that value should be only integer. Okay, next, in step 1, we can also make the pi more accurate if you increase the number. That means the number of trials. So that has to be proved using simulation. Do it for 200 trial, 300 trial, 500 trial. Answer will be definitely in favor of the 500 trial. How accurate can you make the pi to be? So this is again with a increased number of trials, we can get more accurate value up to 3 or 4 significant digit. Now, we also talk about numerical integration, which only calculates the area under curve. And here we take the origin to be 0, 0. So it is the area under 1.1. Then we discuss about a general scenario when the area we are calculating in between a closed interval A to B. And if we are taking this area, it will be in between C to D. So this is the real life problem for which we need to develop a model. That means this uses the same simulation approach when we try to do or throwing the array or putting the dots into area. Some dots are falling outside, some are inside. That is the reason we try to generate two coordinate x and y. I want to throw a arrow, it will hit at the particular point, and that has got a x value, y value. Right, when there is a x and y value, we want to check whether the dot lies below the area. If it is below the area, we'll include that one. If it is after the, outside the area, will not treat them anything. So this is the simple approach through which a general integration can be solved with an interval from a comma b close interval to c comma d. Okay, this is a very simple approach to the numerical algorithm, how we calculate the value. Now we come to the second category of the algorithm, that is Monte Carlo algorithm. In this section, we are going to discuss the Monte Carlo algorithm. The first example is the randomized mean cut, and second is primality testing. Before going to the randomized mean cut, you will be first looking into the minimum cut. So what is the cut exactly? What is the cut exactly? Given a graph, look into that. This three blue line is the cut. Okay. What the cut does? The cut divides the graph into two components. There will be no connection between the graph 1 and graph 2. It will be divided into two disjoint set. It will divided into two disjoint set. You see the vertex 0, 1, 2, 4 are 1. Another is that 3, 2, 3, 5 is 1. So it is nothing but the selection of the edges. Okay, how you will select? You can also do it randomly also. You can pick up any edge. And what is the minimum number of edge required to disconnect this graph? Yes, please. What is the minimum number of edges required to disconnect this graph? Look into this graph. We are looking into minimum number of edges.
2 edges.
So how many such edges are possible? First, you tell me why min-cut problem is challenging. How many such edges are there? How many such solutions are there? Any two edge can be a cut set?
No, sir.
No, sir. No, sir. No, sir.
Any two edges cannot be cut set. But you look into this, the edge connecting 0 to 1, 0 to 2 can be cut set? Yes or no?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Cut set is nothing but more than one edge. Looking into this graph, suppose you have a vertex like this which is connected by a single edge. Let us say I'll be drawing one edge from 0 to 7. Okay, in the left hand side, that will be independent one also. Got it? Suppose I have a edge outside, an edge running from the 0 to 7. Then I can have a cut set. Are you getting me? Suppose I have a edge connecting from 0 to node number 7. So I can find a cut set with single edges will be there.
Single edge.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now you look into that. Why this problem is a exponential problem, right? And suppose I arrange a single one vertex in one side, rest of the other vertex in other side. One vertex in one side, n minus one vertex in other side, and every vertex is connected to the master vertex. Got my problem? One vertex is 0 is one side, rest of the vertex are in serial order, and there is a connection from 0 to everybody. Okay, so a single edge can be a cut set. Similarly,
Yes,
now
sir.
we are discussing single edge can be a cut set that I have discussed. Here actually all the n minus 1 edges are cut set. Suppose in a diagram, I have a single vertex in one side, rest of n minus vertex are aligned in one side, and edge is connected from the vertex number 1 to every vertex. So then what is the maximum number of edges in a cut set?
N minus 1.
N minus 1, n minus 1. Got it. Okay. Now n minus 1. Now how many such edges are possible? Now a single edge can be a cut set. All n minus 1 edges can be cut set. So in between that, maybe 2 edge can be a cut set, maybe 3 edge can be a cut set, maybe 4 edge can be a cut set, right? So corresponds to a given graph. If you'll ask to find out a cut set, you are actually looking for permutation of those edges, right? And we say, so all the combinations are available or covered by the power set. So any cut set I am finding, I can find that within the power set of n or not. I have n number of vertex. If I try to find out the cut set, I can find all my cut set referring to the graph representation or referring to the set contains all possible combination. Are you sure? There are n number of vertex. If I'll construct a power set, if you'll construct a power set, then I can include any two members. Either it will be a single edge, or it will be 2 edge, or it will be 3 edge, or it will be 4 edge, or up to n minus 1 edge. So out of that combination, which is nothing but the power set of all the available edges, we are selecting few edges to our solution. So their solution space is 2 to the power n. That's why this problem is a challenging problem, randomized min-cut. Should I explain again or it's clear? You see in the diagram we are showing one cut set. There are many such cut sets are possible. So number of cut set possible for a n vertex graph is less than equal to 2 to the power of n. 2 to the power of n is the number of subsets that is possible through n vertex.
Sir,
Sir, if it is
Yes.
given that the graph is already is a complete graph, so then we
Fine.
already know that it will have n-1 edge set.
Fine. Fine. No. That's why I'm saying we'll go for the maximum one. Okay. We want to talk about upper bound, no? When I say the solution space to this problem is 2 to the power n, I am talking of the solution space is bounded by 2 to the power n. Got it? I'm not saying
Yes.
it is exactly 2 to the power n. Got it? Out of those 2 to the power of n combinations, few are the solution to this graph, because this graph is not a complete graph. Okay. So when we try to solve a problem, we must first present that my problem is a tough problem. That's why I'm going for a randomized algorithm. So that's why I'm repeating again and again. Are you convinced that the number of possibilities or the complexity will be order of 2 to the power n if we'll follow a brute force method? That means I list all possible cut sets and finally calculate which one is minimum or maximum. Got it? Suppose the first cut set which separates 0. The graph will be separated into two component. Remember this word, two components, so that will be two subgraph. Okay, of this particular, divided into two graph where there will be no common vertex. Okay, so how many such cases are possible here? Maybe here all cut sets are of 2. Now look into that. Suppose I am going to cut 10 and 4, 2 edges. I am going to cut 16, 13, 2 edges. If I am going to cut 20 and 4, then only I can get 2 component. So if I can got the node number 7, nothing will happen. Edge number 7, thing will happen. Edge number will be happen like that. Okay, so in general, we'll conclude that we are looking into the problem where solution space is exponential. So now this subsequent slide describes what is a cut. Cut is a portion of the vertices of a graph into two disjoint subsets or two component, we'll say. Any cut determines the cut set, the set of edges that have one endpoint and each subset of the partition. So this is the properties of the cut set, and we have many applications. It tried to consider one flow network application where we try to find out the various solutions on the top of a graph, maybe the path or maybe the placement of the node or maybe placement of the router. There are many things. Okay, so the cut set problem is described like this. So minimum cut set is that if I am looking into, so this diagram again shows how many cut set: 1 cut set, 2 cut set, 3 cut set, 4 cut set, 5 cut set. So this diagram shows the 5 cut set. Now the decision comes which cut set will be the better, which cut set will be the better, or which one is the minimum cut set. So the minimum cut set obtained will be information, will get from the simple calculation with the age involved in construction of the min cut. So now look into this. We are to specify the cut which cuts the edge number 2 and 12, the edge number 2 and 12, and the cut which cuts 3 and 16. So what it tried to say, few possible cuts in the graph are shown in the graph, and the weight of the each cuts are as follows. So if it is possible to get the list of all the cuts, we can calculate the cost of the cut, then we'll select the minimum one. This is nothing but the brute force approach. So now in a min cut weighted graph, it's a repetition. So the possible cuts in a graph showing the graph and the weight with each other, and maximum we are selecting 2 number of edges.
Sir.
Yes.
Sir, the previous slide.
Yes.
Yes. Sir, can you explain these ratios once? This cut 4:10. I mean, this graph isn't properly visible. That's why I'm asking.
Okay, I think it's a faint little bit of color issues are there. Now yes, look into this. We're talking of this 4. This is the edge number 4 cut. If I want to use the cut 4, okay, then I am signing a cut which start with the edge 10. Suppose I'll use a edge like this which cuts 4 and 10 only. Is it possible?
No.
I no, I have a U-shape cot. It is possible. I can have a cot like this. Yes or no? Tell me. I can have a cot like this. I can have a cot like this. Which cots that?
Like, isn't a cut like supposed to be a straight line?
You
Like,
see,
can you?
no, not necessarily. You see, now look into the vertex A, right? Look into the vertex A. I can go for a cot which is touching the A, I mean the weight 16, the weight 3 and the weight 6. Yes or no?
Okay.
That can be also a cot. Okay, I'm just coming to very basic things. Have you heard of a matrix called Cotsett matrix? Do you have any exposure to the graph theory?
Yes, sir.
We are looking into the representation in adjacency matrix and adjacency list. Okay, you please tell me, any of you have followed nursing the graph theory or any graph theory book in undergraduate study? Yes or
As
no?
I
You tell me.
undergraduation we follow.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
If you read the graph theory by Nursing Dev, and you'll be finding there is a matrix called Cotsett matrix. Okay, so what the Cotsett matrix represents? Cotsett matrix represents what it represents. It is again a adjacency matrix. Yes, cost of the cot. One coset at a time, but like this I am representing as a adjacency matrix. Okay, so I am with vertex 1 and in the column and the row also I am finding vertex 1. So what the entry represents, v1 to v2. What is the entry of the Cotsett matrix? Here we talk if there is a path from v1 to v1, I'll put yes, otherwise it will 0. So when I mean to say this cot 410, it is not always a straight line. Now look into that, the cot number 410. So it may be a cot cutting like this, like upper side of the U and cutting this particular edge of 4, and I am cutting this edge of 10 only. And I move out which one? I'll able to move out the C. Is it possible by cutting those two edges? Answer is no, because another edge is there. This edge is there. I cannot move it out. This edge is there. Okay, so it includes all the possible. But if you look into this diagram, you are looking into. It says we are showing few cots. Okay, not possible all the cots. And if you look into a Cotsett matrix, that will be representing your all cot. Okay, so here let us come to the first cot, that is cot number 1. So cot number 1 uses the edge with weight 15 and edge with cost with 10. Okay, so these are the example of the some of the cots even shown. Now what I try to say, if we use a brute force method, it has to examine all the cot. If you are examining all the cot, it will be exponential, because just now we have discussed, if I am going to pair 2 edges at a time, 3 edges at a time, 4 edges at a time, 5 edges at a time, so what are the number of subsets are possible? In general, 2 to the power n. Okay, looking into this idea, we talk of the graph division. You are given a graph with following information. The graph contains n bidirectional edges. Each edge is denoted by a order pair, that is UV, where U and V represents the node of the graph, and each edge U comma V has the value associated with the edge. So you are also given two node X and Y. You have to divide the graph by deleting some of the edges such that end part of the graph and the divided graph contains X and Y. So here little bit of we are modifying to the problem. Which Cotsett is our requirement? That divides the node X and Y. So the loss of the values from the edges is minimal. That is, if you calculate the cost. So write algorithm to find out value of that is lost while dividing this graph. Okay, so this is additional question. When we'll be discussing the algorithm, we can add into that. Now let us come to Let us come to the example. This is exactly a chord. Sometimes we'll be thinking it is a straight line. Here, what we try to do, if we'll apply this cut, the graph is not necessarily divided into two components. You see, if we'll be successful with the collection of these edges, then these two vertex are independent. This is independent. This becomes independent. Okay. Now, if we look into this, so the set of edges which remove all disconnect the graph G, that means we'll have a two or more component. So given the graph, I'll apply a chord here. So 8 plus 3 is 11. It divided the graph into two component. If such chords are there, then we'll try to first divide the graph into two subgraphs or two components, not exactly subgraph, two component, and at the end we'll calculate that how much effort it has taken to divide and maintain, so that we can develop a algorithm. Okay, so there is a cost associated with a chord. Number of possible chords are nothing but the collection of edges. They are belongs to the power set of the edge. If edge set has a cardinality of m, then there will be 2 to the power m number of edge sets are available from which a chord set to be selected. If I am going to apply a brute force method, I'll sort all the chord sets and take the best one, which is discouraged. So that's why it is exponential one. We are not referring to the conventional algorithm that going to solve the problem. You see, this is the explanation. This will be order of 2 to the power n. So the argument is that a complete graph has an edge between two vertex. You can get the edge by picking up the two vertex. So if there are n vertices, then there is a maximum n into n minus 1 by 2 edges. So looking into that, we can find out the running time like this. Okay, is it clear? Why we are finding how the complexity of this problem using in brute force method is proved to be order of 2 to the power n. So there are possible, you can use this is assumption as the graph is a complete graph to prove this is the complexity. Okay. Now, how to simulate this thing? How we are going to write down a problem so that we can simulate this thing? Okay, so given an undirected graph or connected multi-graph, so that is vertex with set of vertex is B, set of edges will be E. So we need to find out a cut. So cut, you see how the cut is being given. Cut, we do not know how many edges will be there. So in cut, we are providing input information V1 to Vk, such that number of edges between V1 and Vk, I mean V1 to V2, which is to be removed, is a minimum. So we can present this problem as a optimization problem. So you have every pair of vertex V1 to V2, V1 to V3, V1 to V4, V1 to V5. So such a wide combination is there, out of which one is the minimum. Okay, so this problem can be solved optimally by applying the Maxcroft-Minflow theorem. Any of you remembers this thing? Nursing Dev, if you are following Nursing Dev, you can find this algorithm in a graph theory book, because here it tried to represent the graph into look into the order of n square. It's tried to save it into adjacency matrix. So order of n square is the time for trivially trying all pair of resources. Okay, so to find out which one is the best one. So a brute force method has a complexity like this. And now we will be coming into the randomized method, and the typical algorithm is by David Karger, and the approach used is your Monte Carlo algorithm. Its running time is deterministic, but it's not guaranteed that every iteration the best solution will be found out. So with this assumption, we'll move to the randomized algorithm for finding the minimum chord. So this problem can be restated also for a max chord problem. Okay, Max-Cot problem. We'll directly come to the algorithm because these are the explanation related to the concept. So it says initially you pick up a edge. When it says pick up a edge, we are picking up the edges in random. Okay, how we are picking up edges in random? Like previous algorithms, we'll try to generate the on the top of the Cartesian coordinate, we try to generate the value of x and y. Fine. And after finding that, contract, that means you are removing that. You are removing that edge, keeping the multiple edges, but not removing the self. So if I say, if I find out the edge connecting x to y, then I'll combine those vertex x and y into a single node. Okay, and then if you'll go on doing like, and at the end, how many vertex will be left? In the end,
One.
how many vertex
One.
will be left? 1 or 0? X,
One.
x, y merge to 1, right? So it will be 1 vertex, right? So this is the approach. Very simple algorithm. We are randomly generating 2 vertex, merging them to 1. So while this part is clear, logic, outer loop. Once it is less than 2, that is 1, will stop. Okay, step number 3, clear. Look into this algorithm.
Yes,
Is it visible? Huh?
yes.
So step number. So
Yes,
now
sir.
when we, yes, please. When we are looking into select an edge, this part we did randomly. Select edge means I am selecting a edge randomly. Okay, selecting a edge randomly. Again, with this argument also you can very easily prove the brute force is 2 to the power n. Okay, and how we are selecting this edge? Selecting edge x comma y from the all available edge set, that is E, uniformly at a random. Then we can go for writing the corresponding algorithm for this. It's a very easy, we can write it, but the input is a graph and you can do that. So this is a pictorial explanation. So we have given 14 edges. Now we are randomly picking up the edge BF. Please have a look. This is very simple. So when out of these edges, I am selecting the edge BF. Who will select? A random number will select. But what is the guarantee that it will select BF? So I have to look into the all available edges. If all available edges is maximum is 14, then I am picking up this particular edge BF with probability 1 by 14. Not only picking up the edge connecting B to F is 1 by 14. In this particular graph, you select any edge, that will be probability is 1 by 14. Clear? Now what I have to do? I have to merge the vertex BF. So this B and F is merged. B and F is merged, we'll create a new node called BF. Now looking into this algorithm again, we have to choose a edge. Let us, you see this example, we have not intentionally written the weight because it will become a clumsy. So you assume that I am selecting the edge GH because I am selecting randomly. So when I am selecting GH, it is performed on a 16 node graph. So the probability is, sorry, 13 node graph. So the probability is 1 by 13. I mean, sorry, a graph with 13 edges. So probability is 1 by 13. Now, if I am selecting GH, the GH is to be merged like this. So this is the resultant graph. Now you have to choose from, you pick up the edge D connecting GH. So when the D connecting GH is being done, that can be done with a probability 1 by 6 because 6 candidates are left. So that means the edges which can be candidate. So 10 edges is to be shown from picking of an arbitrary edge A, E, I mean that is A to E. So that will be with the probability 1 by 10 because of the available edges. Okay, because of the available edges, right? So when we have 10 edges, we did like this. When I have 6 edges, so this is something wrongly written 1 by 6. So do the correction, it will be 1 by 12. Okay, will be 1 by 12. So in this way we'll continue. So in this way we'll continue, and finally we'll be find that the 5 edges to be chosen from when we try to connect, or we try to remove the edges connecting C to B, G, D, G, H. So this is to be removed. So that will be 3 by 5. Okay. So why 3 by 5 is clear. This is with the particular edge, the connection and the availability. Now similarly, when you look into this, now just 2 nodes are remain. So we'll merge like this, and this terminates the algorithm. We find out the solution. Now how to simulate it? Because if you look into this algorithm, again it is in the Cartesian coordinate form. Randomly we can generate an x and y to do that. Now this is a typical analysis when we try to do the MinCut. I will be little bit of doing some analysis to find out the complexity. So now we try to find out that what is the probability that a MinCut can be obtained. And this actually looks into that the single activity, and what is the probability that a particular edge will be selected, followed by how many times you are going to repeat the process. Okay, if you look into the complexity, maybe it is going to be time I can discuss it again, and I have uploaded this, please go through that. So now you look into this. When we are looking into algorithm in the nutshell, I'll tell you what I tried to say. Being a randomized in nature, we are going to argue that this algorithm will produce a good number of times the correct result. So what is the probability that the algorithm will fail or produce a wrong result? If it is very less, then it can be put into the real-time work or to be work on it top of a network where this type of applications are there. So we need to prove that the probability of failure is very less, or the probability of success is very high. We will be discussing these two parts to find out what is the probability of success, and then we'll move to the primality testing algorithm. Okay, so anything you need to ask me?
Sir, we should remove the vertices until there are 1 or 2 vertices left, sir.
Which one?
In this Kagas algorithm, until 2 vertices are left or one vertex is left, sir.
Oh, no, it is written if they are greater than 2, you have to do na. Once it will be one, you have to stop definitely. We look into the
Sir,
while
if
loop.
only one vertices remain, then there will be no edges between the vertices, no, sir.
Yes, obviously that says so. So you can also implement it the other different way. You can assume a different type of structure to do it. I mean, somebody is going for adjacency matrix, he can do it. Looking into that, I mean, this is an algorithm, is not told about how you are implementing Vertex and others. So which will be the best way of implementation? Anything comes to your mind? Because we are working on a randomized algorithm. Can you suggest if we'll go for a deterministic way of doing so? As it is a random MinCut algorithm, we have not assigned a weight. Let us say I want to go in a deterministic way. What you are going to suggest me? Let us assume that each edge has got a weight, right? Can you write down an algorithm to construct a MinCut? Suppose the weights are available. Can you have an algorithm?
As the MinCut will be always less than the min degree of the graph. Can we do
okay,
like?
Definitely 100%. No, can you write a deterministic algorithm? I mean, the deterministic algorithm we have not discussed. We assume that, can you write a deterministic algorithm? Then only we can have a comparison. What is the advantage? Suppose I want to present the effort made by the two different algorithms. How can I do that? I mean, I want a deterministic Minkowt algorithm, a randomized Minkowt algorithm, which is to be plotted. Okay, then I have to close the session because there is again a meeting scheduled. I have to leave now. Okay, thank you. If you have any discussion, keep the questions. Maybe the beginning of the next class, I want to take on the questions. Okay, thank you then. I'm leaving.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.